Welcome back to our kitchen with Tracy and Tim. And today I'm going to do some baking for church tomorrow. We're going to be teaching the kids for Easter Sunday, and I want to make a bunny cake, and I also want to make some cupcakes. And before, I've had people ask me about cake decorating, that they knew that I did that in the past. Why don't I do that on some of my videos? So I've decided, since I'm doing some baking that's for the kids, I'm going to do some decorating as well, and I'll show you how to use some of the tips. Now today I'm going to do two different types of cakes. I'm just going to do a box cake for the bunny cake, and then I'm going to do a scratch cake for the cupcakes. So let's get started with this one. I've already got everything divided out on what I need to make it easy for me. And also, the oven is preheated at 350 degrees. Everybody pretty much knows how to make a boxed cake, but for those new bakers, I'm going to go through and give you the actual instructions. So most of these are set up where it makes it easy and tells you right on the back the specific things that you need for this, and also in what order to put things together. The first thing it does is it tells you to do the 350-degree oven. And now we're going to go ahead and put everything in here. I have a cup of water. I have a third of a cup of oil, and I used grapeseed oil. You can use vegetable oil if that's what you have at home. Then we're going to do 3 eggs, and this is whole eggs, both the yolk and the white. So what I always do is I break them first to make sure that the egg is good and that I don't have any shells in it, and we're going to add those in. Now we're going to use the paddle to mix this. Now, one of the most important things that you can do so that your cake turns out right is you're going to butter the bottom of your pan, and you're going to put that butter all the way up the sides. The oven's all ready. That's what that buzzer was for. And then we need 2 of them. These are 9-inch. And also, for those new bakers who don't have baking pans, these are very cheap. They only cost a couple dollars. You can get them at your local drug mart, and you'll be all set. Now that we have it buttered, the next thing we need to do is flour it. And what this is doing is once we put the batter in there and it bakes, excuse me, once we put the batter in there and it bakes, then this is going to release from the pan easily by just flipping it out. If you don't do this, you're going to have problems because it's going to stick. The other option you have is to use one of the spray, like Pam or that, and you can go ahead and spray your pan with that. I keep my flour in the shaker because I do a lot of baking on the counter net, and I can easily shake it out. Same thing having to do with this. You're going to make sure that you put it all over on both of them. Okay, now what you're going to do is you shake it and you make sure that that flour is coated that whole pan. Now for the second one, you don't want it going back into the other pan. So I just use a paper towel. And then there you can see the whole thing is coated. That's what you want it to be. Now we need to make sure that we spread this out, and it's going to be for both of them. So one box will give you a 9 by 13 pan, or it will give you 2 9-inch, or if you have 8-inch, it should give you 3 of them. So we're going to divide it out. And I want to see how much that is, and then I'll know how much to put more into each one. Now when you put it in the oven, you also want to make sure that your rack is in the middle, and know your oven. If there's any hot spots, you'll need to make sure and rotate, but we're going to put that in there for, let's see what the box says. We have 2 9-inch rounds. It says bake time is about 22 to 27 minutes. So we're going to put it on for, I'm going to do 20 minutes. And here I'm showing you right through the oven door that it's almost to the top, and it's been about 11 minutes. In 20 minutes, now I want to check and see what these are like. The easiest way to check these is to touch the middle, and if it bounces back up, then it's done. And this looks really good. That's bouncing up. Let's check this one. Yep, those are bouncing up. So that's all done. The other way you can check it is to take a sharp knife, put it in the center, and it's nice and clean, and that means it's done as well. Now you're going to want to put those on a rack. These are a cooling rack, and I am not going to take them out right away. I'm going to let them cool a little bit, and then I'll show you how to flip those out. All right, now that those are done and cooling, the next thing we're going to do is make the cupcakes, and this is going to be from scratch. This is not from a box. So the best thing to do is to always do your dishes as you go along so you're ready for your next project, which I did. I got them all cleaned up. We're going to use the same mixer, the same paddle, and we need to get out some flour. We're going to need sugar. We also need some baking powder and salt. And we're going to need some milk and butter. I have softened butter here. We're going to need vanilla. And we need 3 eggs. We got that mixed together. We have to turn the speed up, and it says here to do for 3 minutes, and I just scrape occasionally. So we're going to do this on a higher speed. It is amazing how this changed. You can see that it's gone from a thicker consistency to now it is light and fluffy. And that is a gorgeous batter. Let me show you. Look at that. Now to fill the cupcake pan, sometimes it can be messy and it can be uneven. So the best thing to do is, I like to have these decorating bags. Just put it in something tall, and we're going to take a spoon and we're going to fill this. And this is how we're going to put this lovely batter into those cupcake pans, and we're not going to have any mess. And I have a tendency of having a mess when I'm working with a batter. All right, that's going to be good for now. That way we still have the top that we can squeeze together, and this bottom here is where we're going to cut it. So I'm going to hold it with my left hand, and since I'm right-handed, I am going to cut this with my right hand. I'm going to do an opening just big enough that I can get that through. And you want to make sure the top that you twist it so it won't come back out. Now, the way that I did these is I put everything on the outside because I wasn't sure how many I was going to actually get out of this. So the way that it bakes, you want to make sure that you have all of your cupcakes on the outside unless you have enough to fill the whole pan. Okay, I found a couple more wrappers for the cupcakes, so I was able to go ahead and finish the rest of them all at one time. So I was able to do all on the outside of both of these. I was only short for 2 of them. So this is a total of, there's 6, 10, 20 cupcakes is what we've got out of this recipe. We're going to put it in the preheated oven. We're going to set the timer for another 20 minutes, and then we're going to check them. And while we're waiting for those, we're going to run a knife just on the outside to make sure there's no sticking. We're going to place this on top, and we're going to flip them over. And look at that. Beautiful, right? Let's get the second one done. And this is all because you did the flour and the butter. None of it stuck. It's all even and it looks beautiful. We need to let them cool the rest of the way before we get started on the actual decorating. Just like I showed you the cake, I wanted to show you the cupcakes and how those are rising. This is the same halfway point, and you can see that they've got a nice cap on them, and they're doing very well. I did put them on 2 separate racks so that the heat could circulate around those pans, and I'd get a much more even cupcake all the way around. To show you the recipe book that I'm using, this one actually belonged to my mom, and it was handed down to me. This is the Betty Crocker 40th Anniversary Edition Cookbook. And there is so much good stuff in here. And it has nice dividers to tell you where everything's at. It has yields of equivalents here. It tells you for substitutions what you can do. So if you ever get into a thrift store and you see they have the books or an old bookstore, check out the recipe books because I am telling you the older books are the greatest. It's been 20 minutes. We're going to check on these and see what they're like. These are not quite done. So we're going to turn these around. Put it back in. And I think we're going to rotate these and put this one on the bottom, and then we're going to put this on the top. We're only going to do like 3 to 4 more minutes and check them. Now 4 minutes has passed, so I want to check them and see, make sure it's completely done. I would say they are. They're bouncing up right, these are all done now. They look really good. Only thing we have to do is turn the oven off and let these cool down before we're ready to decorate them. Now to get the measurements right, we're going to start with making the bow tie. We're going to get an ear here, and the bow tie is going to be in the middle. So we're going to start at the top. And we're going to try to do these even. So we have one ear, two ears, and we have the bow tie. We're going to place that first so we know where the placement is. Next, we're going to place the head, and last we're going to place the ears, and we're going to cut this point off so it fits up against here nicely, and do it in a little curve. So we have one, and then we have two. Try one of these. This is the scratch cake. And it's easy enough to come off. It's not all the way cool. Let's just split it at the cap. And see the crumb? It's a really nice texture. And it's really moist too. A lot of times when you have a scratch cake, the texture can be kind of dry or a little bit too dense, but this one is nice and light and fluffy and really moist, and it has a good flavor to it, a nice vanilla. Definitely give this one a try. It's not hard to do, and it just depends on how you bake it in a 9x13, an 8-inch round, cupcakes, or a 9-inch round. I'll list below on the time suggested for those. This one took approximately 25 minutes, and you're going to want to do that at 350, and make sure and check your oven that it truly is 350. Now we're going to get the icing all mixed up. I'm doubling the recipe, and I'll put the recipe below. We're going to mix the butter with the powdered sugar first, and I'm going to do it a little at a time. See how it's nice and smooth and easy to spread? That's how you want the icing. Now, when we were just kids, we would sit at the table when my mom did stuff and we knew somebody was going to get the paddle. She used to do the old-fashioned mixers that had the 2 beaters on it, and so it was usually me and my younger brother, and we would usually each get one, and that was a treat. Just like this. Yummy. The first part that we're going to decorate is the bunny, and then we'll move on to the cupcakes after that. I wanted to go over some basics when it comes to decorating. What tools do you need to get started? So I figured out exactly what I could recommend to people, and I'm going to go over each one. There's 2 knives that I recommend. These are the offset knife that you do the smoothing of the icing. Then there's the smaller version, so you can get into those tight spots and make it easier on yourself. The flat ones, I don't like them at all because they end up getting the top part of the knife into the icing and making marks. The second thing is these scrapers. These plastic ones are nice, and you don't want to use them for anything else if you're going to use them for icing the cake. This actually can do the top, and it'll help you to get smooth lines. And on the side, you can use this around the side because it's the height of what a cake would be, and that will also help you to keep from getting crumbs. The next thing is the tips. Now, this tip is for putting icing on. It keeps you from making a mess and slapping it on in a bunch in the middle and then trying to spread it out. I'm going to show you how this works and how to put that into a bag. The next tip is a flower tip, and this is also used for roses. I like to have the bigger one, but they also have a couple different sizes to use for these, as you can see. Then you have the leaf tip. It's like a beak. And this also, you can use a smaller one than this, but I like to have these bigger ones because I don't even put what's called a coupler and a ring on the inside of the bag. I just trim the bag and put these right in. Next, this is what I use for decorating cupcakes and for borders on the cake. This comes in different sizes as well. Then you have your round tips. The smaller tip can be used for drawing, for writing, for doing some detail work. Then you have ones that start to get bigger, and those can be used for making flower petals. They can be used for decorating the sides of the cake or doing borders. And the last one I recommend as a basic setup is what's called a grass tip or a hair tip. You can see all these little holes that are at the bottom, and that can do a variety of things. So these are my top recommendations for getting started. Then you're going to want a rose nail. This can also be used for making royal icing flowers that you set aside, and then you can just place them on your cupcakes or your cake later. You need to be able to move it through your finger like that, and that's how you're going to do the rose, which I'll be showing you today. Then you need a pair of scissors, and these ones are specifically made for taking the flour off of your nail, taking it off, and placing it onto your cake. The last thing you're going to want to look at is some decorating bags. I have picked up just some disposable ones, but you can also get the ones that are washable. Those who are much more conscientious about throwing things away and using them more than once, you can use these bags more than once if you wash them, but the other ones, there's specific ones that are made for washing over and over and over, so you'll want to look into those. I have two different sizes. This one is a 12-inch, and this one is a 16-inch. Now the 16-inch is what I used earlier to put the batter for the cupcakes into. This is a 16-inch. I actually like to do an 18-inch or a 24-inch when it comes to the icing bag, so that I can get a lot more icing in here and I don't have to keep filling it up. Now, to know how this is going to go in here is you have to see the end and where you're going to need to cut to have it to fit through, but also be snug at the top. So we're going to start with right here. And I don't want to cut it too big, so we're going to go up a little bit. And now we're going to place that in. And we're going to see where that fits, and then we'll go from there. So it doesn't go quite through, so we're going to need to come down probably to about here and cut. So I'm going to mark that with my finger. I'm going to come back and cut that through. We'll place it back in, and we'll shove that through pretty snug. Now, if that is too close to up here, you're going to want to cut it a little bit more, but that looks like it's going to be okay. So the first thing we want to do is fill our bag. All right, when you're filling a bag, you want to bend the top part down over your hand so you don't get icing on you. And then you have an opening. So now you're going to put the icing in. And we probably could have even went a little bit thinner on this, but I think we'll be okay. Let me take a moist towel and we're going to put over top of this so it doesn't dry out. All right, the jagged edges, we're not going to be using those today. We want to use the smooth side. So the jagged edges are going to go into the inside of the cake. We start to squeeze a little bit. We're going to be doing the edges, and we're going to follow all the way around. Just take your time. And then you release and you pull away. We're going to be doing this side. We'll start at the top. It'll stick right to the cake. You're just going right along the edge. I'm going to go ahead and add more in here. Now that this is all iced, we're going to want to make a few colors. So I just have basic food coloring. And we're going to make a little bit of pink. So we just put some in a little cup. And now we're going to drop just a couple drops. Just enough. We're going to try just one. And that'll be perfect. We do not want this to be really, really dark. You just want to have a nice light pink. Now we're going to take it on the top of our spatula and we're just going to add that on to the ears. We're going to be very, very light-handed. Don't push into the icing. Now keep it stirred, don't let it dry out. And just be, like I said, light-handed. It's like you have a paintbrush. And we're going to add a little more to this side, bring it down a little bit more. And I want the top to be a little more pointy, so I'm going to add a little more there. Okay, now we're going to move on to the bow tie. We're going to concentrate on just doing the top. We're not worried about bringing it down the sides. We're just adding color, like if it was a coloring book. And remember, this is homemade, so part of the charm is seeing the strokes that you're putting on. And see how I put that up in the middle so you could tell that that was the middle of it. Now we're going to do the actual decorating of the face. Now this is the first time for me using this. It's a type of gel that's already in its packet. Usually when I do gel, I do it in a decorating bag. So I'm going to do a sample here on the counter. Okay, it's pretty easy to work with. So the first thing we need to do is put the bunny's nose. So we're going to put that, and now we're going to put the lines for the mouth. The next we're going to put little dots for where the little whiskers would be. And then we're going to put the eyes. We'll put a line for the bottom. And then we do a half curve like that. Make sure if it jumbles up on the bottom that you clear your tip. The next thing we're going to do is put which direction he's looking. And there you go. Then we're going to take more of the pink. And we want to put some here because we're going to put this for his mouth. That's his little tongue. Now we're going to put lines coming out for his whiskers. And we're going to add some detail onto it. Now the next detail I want to do is I'm using one of the round tips and I filled it with light blue icing. I want to put this on the eyes and follow the line of the black so that they are blue eyes. Then down here I want to put some polka dots, so you squeeze, stop, lift up, squeeze, stop, lift up. And I think what we will do to finish this off is we're going to put some flowers up here using the same tip. And let's do one more up here. Green with the circular tip again. We're going to put that right in the center. And then to make it more detailed, I'm going to add some curly vines. And then to add little leaves, you just squeeze and pull out, and it gives you a leaf shape. And I think that's good. And here's the finished bunny cake for the kids tomorrow. Guys, it is time to clean up and end this part of the video. This is part 1, and we're going to have a second video, part 2, showing how to decorate the cupcakes, make little nests and some flowers, and hopefully you guys are just enjoying this basic cake decorating, and we'll see you on the next video.